Hello again. When we left off the other day, we were doing tricky word pairs, and we're going to finish that with two words today that make a tricky pair, complement and complement. The second one is the one that's most familiar. We'll touch on that in a second. But the first one is a little less familiar, and it's a little less confusing, a little more confusing as to when and how to use it. I like to think of this type of complement as associated with complete or completeness, and you can even see the spelling likeness there between the two words. So if you think in your mind about the word complete, it will help you to remember this form of complement. And when we use this form, we are intending that you add to something to enhance it. Add to something to enhance or make better or improve. Sorry about that little mistake there. So when we add a complement to something, it might look like this. I'm fixing dinner. I'm cooking a pork roast in the oven, and I want to have some things with the pork roast. I decide that sweet potatoes might be a nice complement, and maybe add a salad. So sweet potatoes and a salad would complement the roast and would make a nice, complete meal. The word complement, spelled this way, can either be a noun or a verb. So the salad and the potatoes are the thing, the complement, to round out that meal. We can also use it as a verb by saying that the potatoes and the salad complement the roast very nicely. You might think of this word when you are involved in decorating your house. My decorator says that blue curtains would be the perfect complement to my sofa and chairs. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I have a hard time deciding about colors in a room and what would complement the rest of the room. So in this case, the sofa and the chairs, the decorator feels would be better with blue curtains. We could say that the blue curtains complement that, and that's a verb. In that case, the curtains are complementing the furniture. Or we can say as a noun that the blue curtains are the perfect complement to the sofa and chairs. We also think about this kind of complement when we are dressing. Mala's flowery hat is the perfect complement to her new dress. In this case, again, the flowery hat is a noun. It is the complement. But I could say that Mala's flowery hat complements her new dress, in which case complements becomes a verb. You really do this kind of complimenting all day long, really without thinking about it. When you get up and get ready in the mornings, particularly if you're going out, which we don't do so much of these days, but we look at ourselves in the mirror and we decide what's missing. You know, do we need to add earrings? Not you, ASOC, but everybody else. Do we need a certain necklace? Do we need a certain jacket? And we decide on one of those items that complements whatever else we're wearing. We use it at mealtime, as I've already mentioned. We use it really in a number of ways that we probably don't ever think about. The other kind of compliment we also use daily, and that is that giving praise or admiration to someone for something This can also take the form of noun or verb. A couple of examples here. Jen received lovely compliments about her graduation speech. Sometimes we work hard for something, to do something, and it feels good if someone compliments our hard work. Lets us know that it was noticed and appreciated. Or, thank you for your kind compliments, said Chef Fabio. I know I'm really looking forward to returning to some restaurants and enjoying the food and the atmosphere and being able to compliment the chef or the waitress or the owner of the restaurant for those delicious foods. So we both use this both as a noun, the thing that we do is the compliment, or the verb, the act of giving that praise or admiration to others. So we'll clear off the board and we'll pick up on some more tricky word pairs in another session soon. Next, I want to tell you about how I will be sending a little bit of communication to you for preparation. You will be receiving a link from me from time to time to a particular website called ESL Library. I have a membership there, and I'm going to be choosing some of their material for teaching. So I think that these will be relevant to you, lessons that will be relevant, useful to you. I think that they will be interesting, I hope. So you will get a link from me actually in a little while today, which is Tuesday, maybe by 4 this afternoon, to actually review a lesson that I'm going to introduce to you now. So look for that link to ESL Library. All right, excuse me as I learn the camera angle. I'm actually trying a new setting. I'm not in my laundry room today. I'm in an upstairs bedroom, and I even have a chair, so I can sit down and teach maybe a little bit. So we are going to explore a lesson on a very, very important invention that happened prior to my lifetime. I'm happy to be able to say that it was longer ago than my lifetime, and yet I benefit from it every time that I get certain illnesses, and that is the drug penicillin. And I guess I've been thinking about this a lot in reference to the pandemic, because there is such a rush on to learn and discover what drugs we may already have that would be effective, and certainly to create a vaccine and then create treatments that will be effective for the virus. So this particular invention has come to mind a lot because it is so phenomenal, and it changed the world when it came to be. And so I want us just to explore that a little bit. You're going to have a reading for this, and that's what the link that I'm going to send will include. It will also include some comprehension work based on that reading. What is penicillin? Penicillin is a widely used, life-saving antibiotic. It has many brand names and is also compounded with other drugs in labs to fight various diseases. Oftentimes the doctor will say, we'll do a course of penicillin if you or your family member has an ear infection or strep throat, or perhaps even an injury that could become infected or is infected. Sometimes the doctor will say a particular brand name that is a penicillin drug, but it may also include some other types of drugs. We say that that means they're compounded. Compounding means one thing added to another. So a compounded drug would be a combination that is put together in one pill or one bottle of liquid or whatever to treat an infection that you may have. But the penicillin aspect would most likely be the greatest infection fighting aspect of that drug. And it's very, very widely prescribed. There is some, discussion, quite a lot of discussion actually, about the fact that it may be over-prescribed, that doctors go to that too frequently as a choice, and then when a patient really needs it, it may be less effective. So over-prescribing a particular drug is believed to possibly create a problem for some people with their body not being able then to utilize that drug as well as they need to when they really, really need it. There are a number of vocabulary words that I want to be sure are familiar to you before you read the article. I think some of these are, but I'm going to give them to you just in case and talk about them a second. The first one that you will see in the article is the word stale. Stale is the word that we use to mean no longer fresh. A piece of bread that just doesn't feel right or look right or smell right would be considered stale. We also use the word stale to refer to items such as laundry. If our laundry has been sitting a while, we may say that pile of laundry has a very stale smell to it. Have you ever walked into a hotel room and thought, this room doesn't smell good? It smells stale. Sometimes cigarette smoke can create that. So you'll see this word in the article. Another word that you will see in the article is the word vast. Vast means very large, very wide. If there is a vast audience, that means that there are people watching and listening from great distances, many places, as in the television news or as in social media in general. If something is used widely around an area, around the country, around the world, we might say that it has vast usage. So that word vast means very large, very wide. Another word that you will see is the word mold, M-O-L-D. You could possibly see this word with a U, M-O-U-L-D. That is the British spelling of this word. The meaning is the same, but when you see this word in English, non-British English, okay, it will be spelled M-O-L-D. It is a fungus that grows on food and on other surfaces. It usually requires humidity to grow and time. When things are very humid, mold grows quickly. When things are less humid, and cooler, there's less mold around. Sometimes mold is colorful, sometimes it's black, and usually it's not too pretty. There is another meaning of the word mold that you should be aware of, unrelated to this, and that meaning would be to shape something. So you might mold a piece of pottery. You might mold food even. I've known cooks to be able to shape perhaps the rice, shape it in a nice little, design on the plate, okay? So that's molding of something. Another type of mold would be the actual item that you perhaps would put the clay in and then turn the clay out to create a shape. So the mold would be the metal or plastic container that you would put something in before you turn it out onto a surface. So this word can be either a noun or a verb. In the article that you're going to read, though, this definition is the definition that will be useful to you. Lastly, the word wound. And this word is tricky because it's a homophone. In this case, a wound, pronounced that way, is an injury where the skin is broken. So when your child falls off the bicycle or the tricycle, scratches up their knee, has a little bit of blood, they have a wound. All right? The other meaning of this word is actually wound. And I think I misspoke a moment ago when I said homophone. I meant to say homonym because the pronunciation is different. Wound. Something that is wound up means that it is coiled around something tightly, such as thread being wound around the spool, the item that holds the thread, wound tightly. Sometimes we can even say we are wound up. That means maybe we are very tense, nervous, worried, angry, okay? We are wound up. So same spelling, two very different meanings, a tricky word pair, if you will. But in your article, this is the meaning that will be considered. Wound as in the skin being broken. And we know that when that happens, there can be the possibility of infection, and that's where penicillin comes in. The most important things I want to mention before you read the article are, I've already said that, certainly the discovery changed history, changed medical history, and continues to change our lives today. Unfortunately, penicillin does not come to bear on viruses, only bacterial infections. So it is not a drug that is in consideration or can be considered as a treatment for the coronavirus per se. It can be used to treat secondary infections. So sometimes people have a virus and then they develop another type of infection that goes along with that, and perhaps the penicillin then would be used to assist or to help that person become well. But it does not treat viruses. But the important thing I think to mention here is that penicillin took nearly 50 years to actually go from the original concept to a fully manufactured and vastly available drug.